The country with the highest favorability score is Sweden with 92. Tells you most Christian nations are tolerant and those that are Muslim nations are not tolerant.
How religious are Swedes? It seems Sweden is one of the least religious countries in the world. We've watched a few of Patrick Bet David or PBD. We've watched a few of their stuff. Sam Cedar went on their program to I guess debate him, sort of. It was kind of a debate, I guess. And I tend to like, this dude gets quite a lot of views on this video. 708,000, 4.46 million subscribers. I want to kind of take a look at the comment section actually really fast before we get into this video. I lost all my lifelong friends last year because I said kids going to drag shows was weird and was genuinely asking why they thought it was okay. Instead of getting answers, I got called a racist transphobe, conservative, when I've been liberal as hell my whole life. I always supported LGBT till they started trying to get kids involved. It's a sexual, in all caps, movement. Why are kids involved in anything sexual? Has everybody lost their minds? Oh, I love, oh my God, 3.3 thousand thumbs up too. I love comments like this a lot. So, okay, let's think about this. So, is this person a troll? Probably. Let's be honest. Probably. I've heard this exact story so many times now. I just can't help but be like, to just default to the point that they're a troll. But let's kind of address a little bit of that, right? If you are, if you're a lifelong supporter of the LGBTQ movement, and then you're asking the question of like, why are kids going to drag shows, right? If you're a leftist, if you're a progressive, such as myself, I implore you to approach normal people in the normal world a lot differently than you're going to approach a comment section. Do not jump down their throat with a lot of the like, the framing questions and a lot of the like, I think more like political, back and forthing on them. Just answer their questions in an honest and a normal way. That's like the best advice I can give everybody. I've had a couple people on who've been kind of trans skeptical, and mostly they have like questions about like this or that, like why are kids going to these? And it always comes down to because parents need to take their kids to entertaining events, and there are drag shows that are family friendly, the same way there are family friendly versions of a lot of things that adults partake in, so that parents can get a night out and they can take their kids and their kids will be entertained and everyone can have a good time. That's kind of the entire point of family friendly drag shows. And like, again, people get really like, oh, but isn't drag sexual? Well, yes and no. It kind of depends, doesn't it? Because, drag is a long, an old tradition from like, British comedy and really just dressing up in women's clothing and acting ridiculous is kind of like a comedy act to a degree. It's a form of like art and expression, I guess one could say. It doesn't have to be sexual. It certainly can. Nobody's saying that it can't, but the same way that wearing clothes can be sexual and can very many times not be very sexual. So, the drag show stuff is always just a wedge issue, and recognize that as a wedge issue. And the best thing you can do as a response is to sand down that wedge into something that's a lot less extreme, something that's like, oh, okay, like it was, because most of these people hear it and it's framed to them in such a crazy, insane way. And when you really talk to somebody about it, they're like, oh, okay, I take my kids to a wrestling show and people, and there's like way less clothing going on with the profession and like going to see your local independent wrestling promotion than you're going to see going to a drag show. It's just, it's not that significant, and it's not really that sexual either. The same way that there are those like little sexual jokes in, kids movies, so that, it'll go over the kids' it'll go over the kids' head. Parents will get it, helps them kind of enjoy the movie a little bit more. Same kind of concept. Anyway, Patrick Bet David, podcaster, really enthusiastic capitalist, has found or learned I guess he's exposed the shocking history of the LGBTQ movement, even though, I mean, I'm a bit nervous for this, but let's get into it, shall we?
What have you learned the last few years of censorship canceling about religions? You can't say anything about Muslim, okay? They're not tolerant when it comes down to bashing their religion. You can't say anything about Judaism. If you do, you could potentially get canceled.
Well, yeah. I mean, generally, people are pretty emotional about their religions, right? Like, people take that shit pretty seriously. Also, let's be clear here. While Judaism is not some kind of special, is not some special religion that gets, special protections just because it's Judaism. The reason why we treat Judaism with a certain amount of, I think, from a certain defensive posture is because of this thing called the Holocaust and this thing called anti-Semitism that runs abound through a lot of cultures and around the world. It's kind of a problem. Yeah, just a thought. I just think it's kind of a problem. It's not good. It's kind of bad. And it's led to some really, really, what's the word? Some really, really dangerous, I think, explanations for why the world is where it is. And like, you get into like, who's running the world and New World Order stuff, and you get into some weird territory. But anyway, continue.
All over the place, but say anything you want about Christianity, and it's like, it's okay. You can make a comedy thing, a skit, make fun of them. They're totally fine.
Well, in America, yeah. Certainly in America, yes. And there's kind of a reason for that. We are a secular nation. The reason why Islam doesn't have that same kind of, you don't see a lot of comedies like making fun of Islam is mainly because Islam isn't a very prominent religion in this country. It's not really known well enough to make jokes about that people would understand. That's A. B, over in Saudi Arabia, it's not exactly a good idea to make comedies about Islam. And that would be the place where you would make comedies about Islam. And I already explained the reason why Judaism. In terms of Christianity, because we have I believe Christianity is what the plurality of Americans are Christian. I don't know what the number is these days, but majority of people who are religious are Christian in the United States, meaning that you get an incredibly wide range of approaches, of demeanors, of understandings, of comfort with that said religion. Christianity is part of like kind of American culture in the same way that like KFC is. It's just kind of there and it's pretty persistent, but it means that it's a lot less special to people. Certainly not everybody. There are people who take Christianity very, very seriously, but as a nation, we have a pretty loose relationship with the religion because again, our country's also not based upon that religion. Whereas again, in some countries in the Middle East, it's not quite the same, and you're also not. I think there is a little bit more of a militant approach to Islam in those parts of the world compared to here in the U.S. Here in the U.S., it's become structuralized a lot more. Anyway. Continue.
Because Christians are known for being the most tolerant religion. And in America, Christians have been like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And finally they're saying, I am no longer okay. You're pushing the envelope with my kids, and I'm sick of it. And they're starting to...
Keep in mind there are Christian groups that have helped fund the anti-gay laws in Uganda. Uganda passed, I believe it was earlier this year, passed basically the no gays in public law with the help of right-wing Christian political affiliates.
To find them.
And they've been doing that around the world for quite a while.
Polls from Gallup. I got studies on black Democrats versus white Democrats on how they stand towards LGBTQ, transgender, same-sex marriage.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to look at some of the most tolerant countries in the world towards same-sex marriage. We're also going to hear a message from Malcolm X on what he had to say many years ago.
Oh my God, he's got Malcolm X on the horn.
You're going to listen to say, holy flippin' moly. But we're definitely going to touch this uncomfortable issue of same-sex marriage in this episode.
Whoa. Now, what I don't understand also is why an economics guy, or, you know, let's be honest, he's a stonks guy. He's a stonks guy, kind of gives me the vibe of like a timeshare guy as well. Why he's diving into cultural politics. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because at this point he understands that he needs to, you know, as a YouTuber, he needs to engage in a lot of this stuff because this is the stuff that gets clicks. But also, like, you know, this is the content that you got to make if you want to like brush up against politics. And so, you know, I mean, I get it. I guess that's why. The economics of the culture war. Dark history. Oh boy.
Kind of like looking at saying, is Pat really going into this? I am. By the way, if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But
I'm going to be fine with your jokes.
I don't know why that keeps playing. Oh wait, is that is it binded to that? Oh, that might be why. Okay. I was always wondering. Also, God damn it, stop.
Episode.
I don't know why it keeps like, okay, I have two screens, right? So it's this one and this one. And I don't know why I'm like clicking on this one, but like my inputs go to this one. It's fucking stupid. Oh yeah, let's downvote really quickly. Let's thumbs down just to be shits and then continue. All right.
A Gallup poll came out recently saying fewer in U.S. say same-sex relations more
I remember this
acceptable. Now, Gallup is not left, it's not right, it's in the middle, similar to Pew Research. Here's what they had to say. They had a lot of different issues to see the plus minus, such as birth control, divorce, you know, having a baby outside of marriage, gambling, death penalty, abortion. Everything is there, but the one...
If I remember correctly, it actually dropped, if I remember correctly, 14 points for Republicans and like 6 points, I want to say, for Democrats.
One that had the biggest plus minus was gay or lesbian relations. We went from 2022, 71% being okay with it, to a drop of 7% now down to 64%, which, by the way, even Democrats went from 85% to 79%,
a drop.
saying they're okay with same-sex marriage.
Wait.
It's kind of strange when you look at this, right? So
wait, what were Republicans at?
4%, which, by the way, even Democrats...
Republicans were at, looks like 50-ish?
Went from 85% to 79%.
I can't really tell what that number is supposed to be.
With same-sex marriage. This is kind
looks
of
like it's
when
close
you
to
look
60,
at this,
but
right?
I can't tell.
So we said, let's look at this even a little bit more. How did this happen? Did we all of a sudden become more conservative? Did we all of a sudden as a nation say, no, we're not okay with this? I don't know.
Well, it could be that we see stories in the news all the time, turning, and let's be fair here. Let's be really clear. We have seen over the last, year, 2 years, that the Republican Party has turned trans identity, the existence of being trans, into a political debate. It's gone from being these people exist to, which, by the way, they've always existed. They've existed for easily the last 10 years, but only now do they need to, win elections, and you got to find the next thing to hyper focus and obsess about. So it became trans people this time. Next time it'll be gay people, maybe. Next time it'll be black people. Who fucking knows? I don't know. But it's really clear that like the percent dropped because there is a concerted effort by anti-LGBT groups, by Christian fundamentalists to, and I say Christian specifically because those are going to be the groups that have power in this country. It's also, keep in mind, the reason why we mentioned earlier why Islam and Judaism also don't get the same kind of like treatment in terms of like getting made fun of. I don't even know what the metric is. I don't think you could point to a metric anyway. But even if I take that at face value, keep in mind, Christianity is the most dominant religion in this country, meaning that it's a lot less, meaning that you're not punching down, you're punching up when you're punching at, when you're making jokes or you're deriding like Christianity specifically in the United States. Sorry, just checking to make sure my AC is nice and cold or has enough water to make it through the rest of the stream. What was I saying? I forget what I was saying. Anyway, moving on.
No, but there's definitely some things to go even deeper on to take a look at. Another Gallup poll came out with the following question. Do you think gays or lesbians should or should not be hired for each of the following occupations? There's a bunch of them. I'm only going to touch a few of them.
Oh, also keep in mind, like, why should I care about any of these things?
Armed forces. In 1977, it was 51%. Yes, they should.
Oh my God! So in the 1970s,
38% said no. Then in 1999, that 51 went to 70. In 2019, that 51 went to 83%. Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, fine. Armed forces. Number two, doctors went from 44% in 1977 to 75% in 1999 to now 91%, which means we don't care if somebody's a gay doctor or a straight doctor. Okay. America's okay with that. Next, clergy. These are
I'm going to be fine with
1977, 36%.
Every time.
1999, 54%.
What I want to know, with all of this said, all these numbers, why do I care? No, really. The question becomes, at the end of the day, why should I care if the American people feel that gay people or any other identity should be allowed into anything? They are part of the society. They pay taxes. They should have all the same rights that you and I have. Plain and simple.
Today, 72%. 72% are okay if the pastor is gay. Okay, that's America. Next, elementary school teachers, okay, which is where your kids are going to be around. 1977 was 27%. 1999, 54%. Today, 81%. By the way, so some of you say, Pat, who cares if the elementary school teacher is a gay teacher or not? Well, if they are, you know, your kids are around it. If you're okay with that, great. If you're not, no problem. But
do you think he holds that opinion for black people? Because let's be clear, in the 1960s, during desegregation, there were absolutely parents. There were parents groups who would oppose segregation because they didn't want their kids being around black kids, didn't want to be around black students, black teachers. You know, is this like, this is where the question of parental rights runs up against the betterment for the children. Quite frankly, if you want to shield your child from other racial groups, from other racial identities, you have all the right to homeschool them. But you do not have the right to impose that kind of idiotic, discriminatory practice onto the rest of our society. You can stay in your little bubble. Please fuck off to it. But the rest of us would like to live normal life where we can all coincide and get along with people who don't have the same melanin count as we do. It's really fucking weird. And again, for whatever reason, gay people apparently are you know, if somebody says, look, I just don't want my kids being around black people and black teachers, because what if they teach them something that I don't like black people being equal or something? You know, what if my kid starts to believe that black people are equal to white people? What do I do then? Like, the end of the day, yeah, like, that would seem pretty unreasonable. And we would all say, like, wow, that's like not good at all. Why would I take that person's opinion? I hold the same thing for this. Like, why do I care? If there are people who don't want their kids being around gay people, deal with it. There are gay people who live on this planet. Fucking deal with it.
That's how America feels about it. By the way,
and I don't think it's beneficial to
multiple families
kids' education to not know that gay people exist.
$50,000 per year, K through 12. So many parents are taking their kids out of the school because they've crossed the line on way.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear any of that. Although I heard like $50,000 a year, so that's probably a private school. Which how many people do you think who watch these videos think can afford private school?
Okay, with that, great. If you're not, no problem. But that's how America feels about it. By the way, I can tell you from multiple families I talk to locally, there's a big private school here that's around $50,000 per year, K through 12. So many parents are taking their kids out of the school because they've crossed the line on way too much LGBTQ pride and trying to impose it on the students. And a lot of
what does he mean impose? Are they like, Johnny, you are going to make out with Timmy over there? Like, that is that happening in private schools? If anything, it would bolster my argument that private schools are shit and we shouldn't have them. But something tells you that that's probably not happening. Most likely what's happening is a gay teacher put up a pride flag and then a parent freaked out because they're a homophobe. That's probably what more likely happened.
A lot of parents are saying, listen, you're not what you used to be 20 years ago. Even though I went here, I'm taking all my kids out and they're leaving to different schools.
Cool.
Right.
Fuck private schools.
I hear this locally And I bet this is happening all across the
country. Oh man, the poor rich just sending their kids to another wealthy school.
Is being gay or lesbian something a person is born with, or due to factors such as upbringing and environment? Look.
So, okay, this is another one. Why do I give a shit? Because this is, again, the science has settled this. There isn't like, there isn't any dispute on this in terms of the actual science of gender and sexuality. This is an open and shut case. Whether people believe that or not I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care if the American people believe that being gay is a choice. They're wrong. And I'm not about to advocate for the rights of Americans being infringed upon because a few people can't acknowledge or take in new information that they find inconvenient. Sorry, this is not interested in that.
How much this has changed since 1977. In 1977, only 13% said this is something you're born with. 56% said you're gay because of your environment. In 1999, that 13 went to 34%, and the environment went down to 40%. And then I'll bring it to today, born with 49%, environment 32%.
Cool.
So
that's people's unscientific
roughly 45,
opinions.
46 years ago to today, we went from 13%, you think you're born with it, you're not, to 49%. Yeah, about half the country says you're born this way. That's a pretty big difference just in 45 years. Here's another controversial one that some people are uncomfortable talking about. I'm proud of the fact that Gallup's actually doing these kinds of surveys. Do you think...
Oh yeah, it's Gallup. They do surveys. That's like their whole thing. Okay.
Gays and lesbians should or should not be allowed to adopt children. 1977, 14%. Today, 75%. Should gays and lesbians be allowed to adopt children? Just 45 years ago, we're not okay with it. Today, 75%
So what are we getting at?
With it. Some will say, well, you think it's a bad idea? How about all these kids that need a place to live? Who cares who gets them, whether they're gay or straight? Fine. Some people say, do you see about all these other arrests that are coming out with gay parents that are adopting kids and what's happening to these kids?
Is that, well, I'm sorry, do we have an epidemic of that? Or are you blindly like pointing to like a few very specific, very publicized events? Like, again, at the end of the day, if he had a chart on how many, how many like negative households for adopted kids are gay versus straight, do you really think like don't you think he would just put that up instead of kind of just like, you know, motioning at a, you know, assumed number of abusive gay parents? Like, I'd be open to seeing the stats, but I feel like if anybody had the stats, I would have already heard about them already. So,
yeah, but that doesn't happen all the time. Either way, there's an argument for both sides. So now
wait, no, oh my God. I hate this. And you know why? Because this is flattening of like actual statistics. This is taking polling data and then saying people think X and some people think X, some people think Y. Now, do we know which one is a more valid and scientifically like verifiable fact? No. They're just opinions that people have. We don't know if they're equal. We don't know if one's more right or wrong than the other. These are just opinions that people just think that gay people are worse adoptive parents. That's just a thing they think. So it has to be equal to the idea that they're good parents, even though, again, it's not polling data you need to look to find out whether gay adoptive parents are just as good as straight adoptive parents. All you need to look for is the rate of child sexual abuse or just child abuse in general. Like, it's not really like you can absolutely find the answers to these things, but it doesn't really seem like he's looking for answers. It seems like he's looking for statistics to back up his claims, but avoid the real answers, the tangible things. They're like, oh, this is the answer. Well, no. I want to talk about this statistic that gives me the assertion that you could hold this opinion because other people hold this opinion. People think, like, there are people who think Santa's real. That doesn't mean that the opinion that Santa is real versus Santa is not real are somehow equal. It's not how that works.
Let's take a look at history. When did this whole thing get started? When did we coin the term homosexual? You know when it was? 1869, it was first coined by Hungarian journalist Karl Maria Kertbeny. Then in 1897, the first known gay rights organization called the Scientific Humanitarian Committee is founded in Germany. 1924, Magnus Hirschfeld publishes The Transvestites, the Psychology.
Do you think he's going to talk about the Nazis burning down this library in Germany specifically?
Of sex expression. This was one of the first scientific studies of transgender people. 1968, congressional.
Nope, skipped right over it. Well, man.
Proceedings reference gender identity that occurs in a report on public health service under the National Institute of Mental Health summary of sex deviates, which included gender identity disorder as a future direction for research. That's 1968 under Lyndon Johnson, if you wonder who the president is. 1971, the first legal challenge to a state ban on same-sex marriage was filed in Minnesota. 1973, which by the way is only about 50 years ago if you think about it. Ready? The American Psychiatric.
Yeah, it's not almost, that is, okay. Moving on.
Association removes homosexuality from its list of mental disorders. That means in 1972, being homosexual was a mental disorder. This ain't 200 years ago, folks. This is just 50 years ago, when we, the health professions, used to think it was a mental disorder to be.
Why, hello.
1973,
old.
it changed. 1974, the first gay.
I'm not that old. I'm 30, although I do feel kind of old. What's there in politics? Right now we're watching Patrick Bet-David learn a very, very picky history of the LGBT movement, apparently.
Pride marches are held in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. 1986, you ready for this one? Courts rule that there is no constitutional protection for sodomy. In Bowers versus Hardwick, ruling allows sodomy to continue being criminally prosecuted.
By the way, sodomy is dick sucking, by the way.
So why is this 1986? Because the AIDS epidemic was in June of 81, and people were worried about what was taking place. A lot of gay folks were getting AIDS because the whole concept of sodomy is what they're talking about. If you don't know what sodomy is, don't go Google it because some sites may come up. But
also keep in mind the Reagan administration decided to not allow them to seek treatment, or what was it? Isn't it they didn't want them doing research into AIDS and kind of just like left the gay community in the United States to wither on the vine, which they did not do.
But that's kind of what caused this 1986 ruling. 1987, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that sexual orientation is
Russia
not
these days.
Constitutionally protected class.
I know things are probably not phenomenal.
How long ago was that? 35 years ago? 36 years ago? 1988. 1993 was the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy prohibiting lesbians, gay, and bisexual people from coming out or telling
normal thing where we tell people don't ever tell us about your
related to their sexuality,
sex life, because it's not something people talk about. Even though, like, talk to a Marine, they'll talk to you about fucking their wife every other second. Like,
on this date, same year, 1993, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that the Boy Scouts of America cannot discriminate against gays and lesbian scouts. 1994, big year, the National Education Association, NEA, passes a resolution calling for the inclusion of LGBTQ topics in the curriculum.
That's about
1996, right. Another interesting one.
God damn, man, the 90s.
Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA, which defines marriage as between one man and one woman for federal purposes, signed by the one and only Bill Clinton. This was obviously a major setback for the same-sex marriage, but it was overturned in 2013. 2003, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that same-sex sexual activity is legal in all 50 states.
Like imagine the idea that, like, your sexual activity was deemed illegal, like was up for debate by the Supreme Court, the highest court in our land, and like whether you decide to the way in which you engage in sexual activity is of the interest of the highest court in the U.S. Court system. Like, it's kind of insane how much this movement, this group of people, have had their entire existence scrutinized since, like, what? Basically, you know, since we'd say, like, in the 60s, when, like, gay identity really became, at the very least, like, more understood here in the United States. Like,
2004, Massachusetts becomes the first state to legalize same-sex
also,
marriage.
how am I supposed to think that this is a dark history for anybody other than our
national school climate survey,
our history. It's more like the dark U.S. history.
Students are disproportionately bullied and harassed in schools, which leads to 2008 California voters approved Proposition 8, which banned same-sex marriage.
I mean, considering calling someone gay back when I was playing Call of Duty was like
June as lesbian,
an
gay,
insult
bisexual,
in and
and
of itself.
Pride Month. 2011, California passes the Fair Education Act, which requires that all public schools in the state.
Oh, I'm sorry. This guy talks really fast, and I probably do too.
To history and culture. 2011, Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed. 2013, Gender Identity Disorder updated to Gender Dysphoria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. In 2015, this is a big one, the Supreme Court rules in Obergefell versus Hodges that the fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to same-sex couples by the due process and equal protection clauses of the 14th Amendment. This decision legalizes same-sex marriage in all 50 states. Okay, so in 2016, 2017, Barack Obama tried to make it more inclusive for transgenders to be
also, keep in mind, 2016, Obama was already out by this point.
Able to participate and not get judged. Trump comes up and he revokes it, but then here's what happens the following year in 2018. The White House announces that most transgender people are prohibited in the military. Okay. Then in 2020, a letter from the Department of Education announces that the inclusion of transgender athletes in sports teams based on their gender identity is a Title IX violation. This motion effectively bans transgender athletes from participating in sports. So look, why are all these parents? I mean, you see in Glendale what's going on with the protesting. Parents are coming out saying, GUSD, we're sick and tired of Glendale Unified School District. And it's happening across the country. But how did all this material go into schools? Why are public school teachers teaching this stuff? It's pissing off parents. How do we get here?
Again, this really comes down to like, if parents want their kids to be racist, they have the right to teach them that. I don't think they have a right to influence public education to have other kids' other parents' kids taught to be racist. Same goes for being homophobic. Like, at the end of the day, these parents who get pissed off because their kids learn about gay people are really just mad that they don't have these little mini-me's that they get to control anymore. Quite frankly, I would have preferred these people just not have kids. That's like my take on it. Like you can't protect these kids for their entire life. There is no way that you're going to be able to shield them from like the existence of others. So it's just a waste of theirs and our time.
You have to know who's behind it all. For example, do you remember how we talked
who's
about
behind it all?
California
remember when he mentioned the Jews earlier?
In 2011, which requires all public schools in the state to teach about the contributions of the LGBTQ people to history and culture. That's kind of how it happened. It was something that passed. But more importantly, policies that make LGBTQ-related material mandatory in schools are typically approved by state legislatures. Cool. In some cases, these policies are the result of grassroots activism, while in other cases they are initiated by government officials. That is how it kind of happens. It is then implemented by school district. And who was the most responsible for the California Fair Education Act? You ready? These organizations: Equality California, Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, Human Rights Campaign, HRC, National Center for Lesbian Rights, Transgender Law Center.
I guess you would have to tell me what's wrong with the teaching of like the existence of gay and lesbian people. You would have to make the argument, which he never will, by the way, why kids shouldn't know who gay people are. Gay people walk amongst us. They exist out in the world. They are, you go outside your home, you're liable to bump into a gay. And like, what about your child not like understanding that that they might meet a gay person and know how to approach or communicate or understand their place in our society? What about like having that information is bad for the child, right? Like what about that is like, oh, that's not good? Nothing, absolutely nothing. The understanding of the world around you, like if you could teach a kid every single animal and what it does, you would be like, oh, will they ever use all of that information? Maybe so, maybe not. But it's education nonetheless. It's information. It allows kids to approach the world. Maybe they run into some animal that somebody else doesn't recognize, and they're like, oh, it's this kind of animal. And then, whatever. But like, why is that any different with gay people? And the answer, quite frankly, is it's not. It's just there are people who are homophobes, who are transphobes, who are weirded out by gay people, fundamentalists, quite frankly, who just don't see them as equal members to this society. And we don't live in a religious theocracy. So for my money, as far as I can tell, or at least as far as I'm concerned, those people, fundamentalists, can kindly fuck off. That's how I feel about it, at least.
And what do these organizations have in common? You ready? They have the same 3 donors. And do you want to know who's behind these 3 donors? I wonder who. Do you want to take a wild guess?
Oh, no.
Get it right. Let me give it to you. First one is Gilead Sciences. In 2001, they became the first company to develop a once-daily pill for the treatment of HIV and AIDS. That's one of the biggest funders. And by the way, do you know who's been a shareholder of theirs since 1999? Soros Fund Management. And
so we're really doing the Jew posting now, huh? Okay.
In 2015, Soros Fund Management was one of the investors in a group.
You know what I also don't understand? Why people seem to only know, like, some of these guys only seem to know that there's like a billionaire on the left-wing side of things, right? Like George Soros is probably, I mean, I don't know, but like it would stand to reason that George Soros is probably the richest like left-wing donor that we have. We have one on the left-wing spectrum of things. And even then, Soros isn't like, he's not a socialist. He is a capitalist, like a lot of them. But like he holds left-wing values to a good degree. But like there's one. Do you know how many of these guys donate or fund organizations on the right? There are multiple. You got the Koch brothers. You got the Mercers. You got the whoever it is. What's the fuckers that run Mitt Romney's think tank thing? I forget their name, but like it's always weird to me when they bring up Soros as like a there's like this the Soros fund that does all right. There's like the Koch brothers, the Mercers. There's like 10 of these guys over on the right. Why is it that one guy is more interesting when the other side has so many other high donor funders? Like what? Like if you're that concerned about like, oh, is this the infiltration or corruption of our politics or whatever? I'm like, it's one guy. There are many others from the other side. They have more resources. We have 1 billionaire. They have like 6 or 7. Like, come on. Fucking Elon. What am I saying? Elon. Bezos.
Medicare, a company that provides specialty pharmacy services to patients with HIV and AIDS. And Gilead Sciences is a major customer of Themis Medicare. The second foundation is called the Arcus Foundation, and George Soros is a trustee of the Arcus Foundation and has donated millions of dollars to this foundation. And the third one,
also, isn't he a capitalist? Why does he even care about any of this stuff? This is called diversification of funds.
Is a trustee and has donated millions of dollars.
Jew. That's all you can name that segment for.
Teach this to them, like, how's it matter to you, George Soros? Why do you care so much?
Okay. We're gonna do it. Okay. We're going to do it really quickly. Where is it? Oh, I can tell that's why he put the Judaism thing in there. Because people have mentioned him, hey, you seem to talk a lot about they and Soros and kind of Jew post a lot. Right. Whoops, sorry. Oh, whoops. Billionaires. Oh yeah, what's it called? What's that one fucker? That one dude who took Sam Alito on trips to whatever that fucking wherever that was in Alaska or whatever. What is going on? Oh, it's a stupid ad block thing. Fuck you, Forbes. Fuck you. Get the rest of your money from someone else. Yeah. Yep. American billionaires, there's political spending overwhelmingly leans Republican. A record-breaking $881 million was donated by the country's 465 richest people. Let's see. So, yeah, like, look at this. Let's look at this list. for a hot second. Patrick Bet David over here is wondering why George Soros is, I don't know, what did he say? Like trying to turn the kids gay or something through his political donations and through his, funding organizations. We have George Soros donating $128 million to the Democrats. And then we have what Sam Bankman-Fried, who's I think in jail right now, $40 million. Bloomberg's $22 million, $18 million for this other one. Simon's $13 million. Hoffman and Yee $11 million. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 billionaires on this little chart here. There are 6 that are donating to Democrats. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 14 out of the 20 donors to political organizations, to super PACs and whatnot. Most overwhelmingly, you already eclipsed George Soros' numbers with the first 2, whoever these 3 fuckers are. This already eclipses George Soros right there. This one outpaces that one. All of these outpace all of the Democratic donors. Like, at the end of the day, the question isn't, why is George Soros trying to teach our kids about gay people? The question is, why are there this many billionaires trying to keep that education from you? That's the actual question that needs to be asked. What don't they want you to know about gay people?
It's a valid question for parents to ask why he's funding this. By the way, as of June 2023, there are 6 states that make it mandatory to teach LGBTQ-related material.
Wow, 6 out of
California,
50.
Colorado, Illinois, Nevada, Jersey, and Oregon. So look, I don't know where you stand or what you're going to be saying, but either way, you're probably like, what the hell is Pop? This is kind of uncomfortable to talk about this stuff. You're either watching and saying,
It's not. It's not uncomfortable. It's mostly just watching somebody be really stupid and pick statistics that don't actually give them like data or info. They pick he picks points that don't really lead anywhere so that he can kind of lead you in whatever direction he would like to go in.
I can't stand you doing this. This is why I hate valuetainment and PBD. No problem. Or you're saying this, wow, I never knew about this stuff. I'm kind of interested in what else he has to say. I want to kind of look at some religions. If you were to look at which one is the most tolerant to same-sex marriage and which one is the least. If we have to say Muslim, that's the least tolerant. But the most tolerant is...
I don't even know what that means. When people say like Islam is like the least tolerant, I would say, well, first of all, like the major hubs for Islam are not in like first world countries. They're not in the global north. Like most of the religion resides in the global south. So do you think that could, influence the levels of fundamentalism within that society? Probably. And within the religion in that community? Probably. Same goes for like, keep in mind, he's going to say that Christianity is the most tolerant of gay people, which is absolutely true, mainly because Christianity resides in the United States, where we have grown more and more comfortable with gay people. It is because of the clawing back from fundamentalism that Christians have become more tolerant, because they are less dedicated to their religion. But there are people like the Mercers, like the Koch brothers, like that entire list you looked at, who would like to see a reversal of that. They want to be more like Islam. They want to be more like the radicals that they deride so much. If there's one thing a radical, ISIS terrorist and a Westboro Baptist Church, a parishioner, if there's one thing that they both agree with, it's that the gays need to go. That is the one thing that they really agree on. They won't agree on America. They won't agree on who the what's the word I'm looking for? Who the Son of God is. They won't agree on that, but they will agree that the gays need to die. That, at the end of the day, is the thing that they agree on.
Catholics, and this is according to Pew Research. It's followed by Jews, then mainline Protestant, then historically black Protestant, then Mormons at 27%, and the least tolerant is the evangelical Protestant. And by the way, why don't we look at U.S. World News on what countries are the most...
Wait, was that not going up to down? Did that go bottom to middle to back? Okay.
...tolerant to same-sex marriage? Here's what you will find according to U.S. News. If we look at these 24 different countries, you see at the top where it says totally opposed, strongly opposed, somewhat favor, strongly favor, or total favor score all the way to the right. Here's what you'll find. Canada, 79. U.S., 63. But look at this. The country with the highest favorability score is Sweden with 92. Then it's Netherlands, then Spain, France, then Germany. You can look at the rest. The lowest...
Am I fucking crazy? Do I not know? Wait. Go back. Okay. Why is this so fucking zoomed in? Okay. Strongly favor. Okay, so favors the brown. I don't know why that. Okay. Whatever. Strongly oppose. I think the question was percent who say they somewhat strongly favor allowing gays and lesbians to marry legally. Okay. In Canada, it's 56.
At the top,
yes, it's 41.
Strongly opposed, somewhat favor, strongly favor, or total favor score all the way to the right. Here's what you'll find. Canada, 79.
Oh, he's going by this number.
63. But look at this. The country with the highest favorability score is Sweden with 92. Then it's Netherlands, then Spain, France, then Germany. You can look at the rest. The lowest, believe it or not, is Hungary in that list with 31. But if you...
Yeah, Hungary's kind of bashy right now, isn't it?
Go to other countries such as Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country in the world. It's got the lowest score with 5 outside of Nigeria, and even Kenya's at 9, and Israel is at 36. It tells you.
Wait, yeah, Israel, the fucking, yeah, the fucking theocratic state of Israel. Yeah, this is fundamentalism. That's what you're seeing is the more fundamentalist a group is, the less favorable towards gay rights they're going to be.
You, most Christian nations are tolerant, and those that are Muslim nations are not tolerant for same-sex marriage.
Well, that again, go look at the. Well, actually, what you would need to do. Let's take Sweden for example. How religious is Sweden? According to let's see. Sweden religious affiliations. Church of Sweden. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Other, not unspecific. How religious are Swedes? It seems Sweden is one of the least religious countries in the world, along with countries such as Czech Republic, France, Japan. Where's that list? Oh my God. Like, I don't think he understands like what he's looking at, because he's like, oh, look at all of these favorable countries towards the LGBTQ. They're all Christian nations, right? Not really. One of the least countries, along with Czech Republic. I don't know where Czech Republic is on this list. Sorry. Austria. Is Austria on this list? It's not. Netherlands. Austria, the UK. Yeah, UK is on here. Yep. Also, yeah. Oh, it's right here. France, Japan, Australia, like Spain also. Like, a bunch of these countries aren't very religious. Sweden and the Netherlands, the two top ones, are not very religious states. Spain, probably a little bit less so than those two, but like France and Germany are pretty secular. Like, what these are secular nations. And what you have in somewhere like Indonesia is, let's see, Indonesia. According to the most recent census, 2010, 87.2% of the population is Muslim. Okay, let's see. Secular or religious. Let's see. Indonesia is a secular democratic country that has Muslim majority population. The Indonesian constitution guarantees all people to Indonesia. Yeah, no. I want to know how, like, religious status of Indonesia. I want, like, the same, like, breakdown. Religion, sure. Let's go religion in Indonesia. What do we got here? Yeah, Islam, Christianity, woof. Majority religion. History of Islam in Indonesia is complex and reflects the diversity of Indonesia. Oh my God, I don't want to read. This is so long. I just want to know if there's like, what the percentage of like they're like how deep that goes. I'm sure they have it in there. 9% of the population is Muslim, gaining an on the title of largest Muslim population. However, Sharia law is the Islamic law isn't implemented in all of Indonesia, where there are 6 official religions: Islam, Protestantism. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, like what you're measuring here, either way, is more secular nations, as opposed to Hungary, which is taking a quick turn towards fascism, which leads you towards fundamentalism. Like what we're measuring is fundamentalism versus secularism.
Score is Sweden with 92, then it's Netherlands, then Spain, France.
Oh, remember Germany. When they mentioned Australia?
The lowest, believe it or not, is Hungary.
Japan
with 31. But if you go to other countries such as Indonesia, which is the largest
South Korea is actually really high
in the world, it's got the lowest score with 5, outside of Nigeria, and even Kenya's at 9, and Israel is at 36. It tells you most Christian nations are tolerant, and those that are Muslim nations are not tolerant for same-sex marriage. As if I haven't pissed you off enough with this data that was...
Yeah, once again, that's what's the word I'm looking for? Considering Hungary also isn't a Islamic country, and it was pretty high on the disapproval, that kind of cuts against his argument now, doesn't it?
Sharing with you, I'm going to share with you from Pew Research.
It's fundamentalism that's going to be the difference maker.
The majority of black Democrats say gender is determined by sex at birth. So these are black Democrats. These are folks who were really needing civil rights at one point just 60 years ago.
They kind of still do, but okay.
Different than gay rights. If you look at this, here's what it says. So unlike other Democrats, a majority of black Democrats,
what does he think civil rights means?
At birth. If you look at this,
it's called civil rights, not black rights. Black rights are black rights. Civil rights are rights within a civilization, in a civic society. What the okay.
The yellow to the left is determined sex assigned at birth. The blue on the right is can be different from sex assigned at birth. If you look at the Republican leaning, you'll see 86 say no, your sex is determined at birth.
Which is stupid because we already know that's incorrect. And they already know that.
72% say it can be different from sex assigned at birth, but look
Makes
at
sense.
blacks, only 33. That's a 40-point discrepancy, and blacks are 66% saying it's determined by sex at birth. You know what it says? Blacks are closer to Republicans than white liberals. They have a...
It's... You know, it's really too bad that Republicans can't stop themselves from being like out and out racist, or maybe they'd actually gain the support of black people in this country through transphobia. But you know, it's just goddamn it, they'd have to get along with those darkies, and just they can't muster to do it, can they?
40-point difference. Hispanics are at 44, and Asians are at 38, but blacks are the least tolerant.
Why was there an asterisk over Asian?
According to Pew Research. Here's another one, man. Black Democrats are going to piss
I just don't understand what the point of this is. People have opinions.
This is purely their data.
Is there?
You can get upset at Pew Research and write a negative review about them because these guys are pissing off some of the wrong people. Watch this one. Democratic K-12 parents defer by...
Like, what do people get out of this? Like, we read the comments a little bit. Like, what are like great content. Thanks for compiling the data. I'm a boomer who DJ during the 70s and 80s, and there are a lot of clubs where straight and gay people congregated for the sake of the music. Everybody got along because neither side pushed their preferences on the other. Were you actually sure that it was... Well, first of all, the real question is, were the gay people open about being gay? First of all. Second of all, if you're like in the 70s and 80s, if you're in the cities... then yeah, you can still see a lot of that. But the idea that like, hey, look, you know, I DJ'd a few times and, you know, people were really cool. So I don't know what gay people mean when they said they were like, you know, beat up in alleyways and everything else. Like, okay. Oh my God. Great analysis. Spot on. There's no analysis. Like, that's the thing. It like, so like we are 15, almost 16 minutes into a 22-minute video, and I haven't heard one like, okay, this is like any position, anything. It's just been, these are the opinions of people, which is like, all right, that's fine. People can have whatever opinions they want. That doesn't mean they're correct, and certainly doesn't mean that I'm going to shift my political positions based on polling. I would have to be called Anna Kasparian to do that.
Race, ethnicity over what kids should learn in school about gender identity. Look at this here, percentage-wise. I mainly want to look at the left one here, which is the green one, where it says someone can be a boy or a girl, even if it's different from sex at birth. Republicans say no. 9% agree with
Shocker.
this. White said 64% yes, you can be different than
Makes
what you were
sense.
born with. But blacks said 30%. Do you realize blacks are only 21% away from Republicans and 34%?
I know,
away
and
from
the Republicans
white
still
Democrats?
are just too
How
racist
weird is that?
to coalition build with them.
Black friends or selling memberships at Bally's or working
It's
in
crazy.
the financial industry for the last 20 years with our African American community. The grandmothers and the mothers are typically very conservative. So this makes sense to me. And by the way, I just want you to watch this one video by this guy. You may know this guy's name is Malcolm X. He gave this speech many, many years ago, comparing the difference between what a white liberal is versus a white conservative. And the only reason I want you to watch his speech, if you've never seen this before, is because in this context, we're comparing black Democrats to white Democrats. Here's what
Oh my
Malcolm
God,
X
is he gonna
had to
play?
say about this.
Is this gonna be the white moderate thing? Are we gonna do the white moderate speech? Oh my goodness.
Many, many decades ago.
The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives.
What's funny also is this is what happens when you don't actually like understand history or any aspects of the civil rights movement, because who Malcolm X is referring to are white liberals who would tell black people during the civil rights movement that they just need to embrace, specifically with Malcolm X, they need to embrace nonviolence and like the nonviolence movement of like Martin Luther King, and that they need to work within the system to gain their rights. Who Malcolm X is railing against here are people like Hillary Clinton, people like I mean, let's be honest here, Barack Obama to a good extent, Joe Biden, these sorts of like centrist half measure, let's like, dither around the edges and we'll try to get you your rights. Like, that's who he's raging against, not the white liberal who's like thinking now, who's thinking now, hey, we need to look out for the rights of trans and gay people. That, like, if anything, Malcolm X would want the support that whites show gay and trans people these days. Probably he would be more appreciative of the support, because there's kind of at least been a with younger generations, there's I think a more militant, or at the very least a deeper understanding of these issues than there was for that white liberals had back in the 60s.
The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or
it's like Joe Biden.
False promises of integration and
the same way Joe Biden promised to do police reform, during his campaign, and then did absolutely fuck all of it in his actual presidency.
Civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation.
I also don't know how this even connects. How are white people using black people to fight for trans rights?
Token progress.
So what do you think about his message? What do you think about what he has to say? You think they liked what he had to say? He's calling everybody out. And by the way, there's a part of America today that believes that. They're like, wait a minute, I don't relate to what's going on in America today. I love America. I'm a John F. Kennedy Democrat. I love what America stood for. I'm not part of all this craziness. Here's a stat that just came out that shows what's going on by generation.
I actually have no idea his
so let
takes
me get this
on
straight. So traditionally, people being born before
Malcolm
1946, only 1.7% of them are part of the LGBTQ community. As if they're afraid to come out of the closet. You know how people say, well, because people are more comfortable today to come out. No, there isn't anybody that's more comfortable who doesn't give a shit about what you and I think than the older generation. They don't care what...
Wait, no, yeah, they do. What are you talking about? The older generation absolutely gives a shit what people think. Why do you think they're always fucking trying to hold on to keep their grip on power? Like, no. First of all, coming out at like 70, how many people do you think are comfortable with coming out in their like 70s, 80s, or 90s? Not a very high number. You're kind of like at the point where it's not really a meaningful meaningful action to take. So like I don't even know what the fuck you like. What? Like, no, do I need to bring up the left-handed chart? I'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do the left-handed chart. Fine. We'll do the chart.
What you and I think? Like, I'm 72 years old. I'm gay. I don't care if you like. They don't care whether you think anything about it or not. They're only at 1.7%. Baby boomers are at 2.7%. Gen X is 3.3%. Millennials born from 1981 to 1996 are 11.2%. And Gen Z, kids born from 1997 to 2004, 20%. 1 out of 5. Really? That's really naturally that's how they were? Or is this going back to the Gallup thing that we looked at where it says environment? Do you remember the whole environment was a big part of it? Yeah, this is saying that we were smarter 50.
That's a Gallup poll, by the way. That's not a scientific study. A Gallup poll asking people, do you think your environment makes you gay, is not the same thing as coming to the scientific answer that your environment makes you gay. All that you were asking, and the Gallup poll is just asking an opinion, and just how many people believe that opinion. That's not that's not how like science works. That's also not like how you don't get answers based on the answer to a question on identity, biology, or anything like that is not what percentage of people believe that to be true. Like, that's not how that works.
Years ago than we are today. And by the way, part.
Fuck you. God damn it. I hate when
it's starting to get to a point that, listen, this constant.
Stop. I hate.
Man. Really? That's really naturally that's how they were? Or is this going back to the Gallup thing that we looked at where it says environment? Do you remember the whole environment was a big part of it? Yeah, this is saying that we were smarter 50 years ago than we are today. And by the way, remember how I started this? And I said,
yeah, I just thought about that too. Yeah, like people in the 1950s were dumb as fuck compared to people in 2016. Like, if you took like the educational acumen approach to that, that would also show you that like, whoa, there's like this huge increase of people being suddenly smarter. Like, is that just because we got smarter? Just our brain just began to expand larger and larger? No, it's because we had more access to education, more access to the internet. Also, by the way, history of left-handedness. I know everyone brings this up, but left-handedness was illegal. It was thought of as like demonic or some shit in the U.S. And you had a pretty low amount down in the 1800s. And then as left-handedness began to be like not a big deal, you see it's gone up to 12% and kind of continued around there. We'll eventually plateau around whatever percentage of people end up being gay. And even then, the amount of people who are going to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, or trans is going to be super large, because the amount of people who are going to end up being like gay is going to be one number. Like, you know, that's just it's basically everybody who's anything but just straight. And that's like, there's so many other options in there. So like, even grouping lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans people and queer people and everybody else all under one like banner is going to make it seem like, oh my God, there's this huge increase of this one identity. No. Each one of those is its own little subsect also. So keep that in mind.
Pray for courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. Trust me, it takes courage to make this video.
What the fuck? I'm so confused. Okay.
Or is this going back to the Gallup thing that we looked at where it says environment? Do you remember the whole environment was a big part of it? Yeah.
Again, we already said this.
Smarter 50 years ago.
A Gallup poll is a poll, not a scientific study.
I started this? And I said there's 4 things I pray for: courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. Trust me, it takes courage to make this video, because I'm going to get a lot of hate for a video like this.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
But the tolerance part, it's starting to get to a point that, listen, this concept of tolerance, back in the days it was Corinth, now it was a city that was Corinth. Now America, the greatest country in the world, is turning into Corinth. The school you're
what
going
the fuck
to,
is
you're
Corinth?
okay with that? So
I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Typically with tolerant people, here's how tolerant people are. Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's fine. Yeah, I'm not with it, but go for it. Yeah, it's cool. A little bit of tolerance, fine. All of a sudden you realize, I think that guy's taking advantage of my tolerance. Am I?
Well, the question would have to be, what exactly are gay people in this country taking advantage of? Considering they haven't requested extra rights than everybody else, it really just seems like equality. You know, I think we've heard the old saying, you know, when privilege, you know, when you were born into, what is the phrase? It's like when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Am I being preyed on? Am I being abused a little bit? Listen, you're not doing this anymore. You crossed the line with my kids. We're staying right here. And by the way, I'm Middle Eastern.
Cool.
I fall in a very weird category. Yeah, I've experienced all these other things. Hey, you know, you're discriminating.
I'm South American. Get over it. There are humans on the planet. Some of them like to fuck dudes.
I'm from Iran. I get it. But women's rights, there is no debate.
I know he's not talking about being Middle Eastern and then being like, women's rights, there's no debate. My friend, can I point you in the direction of Saudi Arabia? Like, again, it's always like, look, the things that I've become comfortable with are okay. But if I haven't become comfortable with it, then we shouldn't allow, which comes down to like, look, if you're not comfortable with gay people, that's your problem. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you be less homophobic. Like at the end of the day, these people need their rights and deserve them regardless of whether you personally like it or not.
Of course we have to have women's rights. Civil rights? Absolutely. I don't care if I'm darker than you or whatever I am. Yes.
Some people definitely care if you're darker than them.
Turn into a religion where everybody's walking on eggshells, especially the Christian community, because we are seen. You guys are tolerant, so we can take advantage.
Oh, is this guy Christian? Is that why he like goes so hard for the Christians?
We'll do that in America, not in our country. Oh, okay. We'll respect it. But no, in America, these guys are cowards. They're so tolerant. You can take advantage of them. And based on some of the data, I think people are waking up.
I mean, yeah, Christians are cowards. Yeah, this is true. This is incredibly true.
We can learn a little bit from them. They don't compromise their standards. And maybe Christians need to start realizing.
My dude, I would love for okay. I need Patrick Bet David to go do his homework on what not backing down from their standards is in the Middle East. Because it's not just, hey, look, keep it away from the kids. It's fucking hanging and stoning people. The only reason why we don't even see nearly as much of that as we used to back in the early 2000s is mainly because the international community has grown distasteful towards those sorts of fundamentalist sentiments.
We also don't need to compromise our standards and start speaking up. Again, if I pissed you off, awesome.
My goodness.
That was the purpose of this content, to get you thinking.
Never have Christians.
Like, I was not planning for me to wake up
Man,
this morning
I never heard from Christians until like 2023. I never heard them complain about literally anything.
Say, do you agree with Pat has to say? I don't care. All I want to do with our team of research team that brought all this content.
My favorite thing is like all of its polling data. Let's see. Not one scientific study, just a bunch of polling data to determine who is equal in our society. Nice. Like, at the end of the day, like, what's it called? Wait, let's. Oh wait, actually, let's so much for the tolerant right. I don't know. We'll go with that. Tolerant right. Let's go heart emoji. Yeah, let's do that. Where's the thing? Nope, that's a 3. Oh man, I don't know how you make it to like this dude's age and be this like fucking stupid, like genuinely. But again, this is at the end of the day, this dude's a salesman, and like what he's selling is data-driven homophobia, data-driven transphobia, data-driven anti-Semitism, data-driven racism. Probably. You know the thing You know, the thing that they tell, you know, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.